Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all the lovely people, all the teachers, all the coordinators who have joined us for a session on art for today's Tea Club session. We had an initiative a few months back in this academic year where we had and developed an e-club for students. Well, we got such overwhelming response for the same. We were compelled, we thought we need to do something else. And yes, we came up with this beautiful platform known as Tea Club exclusively for teachers. What is Tea Club? Tea Club is a community of teachers where we all share platform and where learning and teaching happens. For a teacher, learning never ever ends. So on this platform, we are getting best mentors, educators to share their experiences, share skill based their skills that they have learned in their classroom, their experiences, and much more, and the new trends too. Today's session, we're going to talk about art. Well, when we talk about art integration, we speak about classrooms, drawing, sketching, painting. But is art limited to that or is it beyond it? We talk about 21st century skills very casually nowadays. We talk about the four C's. We talk about collaboration. We talk about critical thinking. We talk about creativity. But what is creativity? How can we get creativity in the classroom? Today, I'm happy and privileged to welcome Ms.Naznin Qureshi. Ms. Naznin is a HOD in an international school in Mumbai, and she has her master's degree none other than JJ School of Arts, Mumbai. She has a vast experience and always believes over process than the product. I have personally seen her connect with the children right from K to 12 and how she beautifully integrates art into other subjects and develops integration. I'm privileged and having a warm welcome to Nazneen Qureshi for today's session on art.
A very good afternoon to you all. Thank you for joining us for this session. I hope you find it fruitful. So, what are we here for? So, as Ms. Darshana very rightly introduced and stated, that we are here to just share our thoughts. I'm going to share my own thoughts, and I would love to hear your thoughts as well on what is art integrated, how well you all integrate art into your learning and teaching process. Going further, now, a simple question of what does art mean to you all? It's endless. The definitions to this particular question is endless. I mean, all these hands, like this picture I have chosen personally, because it beautifully depicts that many creative minds, many creative souls coming in together makes the world a beautiful and colorful and creative place. Taking this thought further, what is art? Again, going back to the previous question of what does art mean? I truly, truly believe art is just the ability of how one expresses themselves. So generally, when we speak of art, people think of a pen and a paper, paint and paper, paintings put up in galleries, and they are like, oh, these people are artists. Why? The singers aren't, the theater artists aren't, the performing artists, the dance, the drama, these are all art. I would also like you all to think about for a second that is that limited to only these four platforms? Or is it more than that? I strongly believe it is more than that. The bhajiwala, the vegetable vendor, sitting right across the road that we always pass by, isn't he creative enough to beautifully create that layout, set up the fruits and the vegetables in such a creative and beautiful manner that it does attract your attention and you go to that person and not the one who has just piled up everything together on a cart and he's selling out to you. Definitely your attention goes to that person. There are many ways in which we find art around us. It's just that we need to see it, witness the art at the right time, and appreciate it. So, just taking you all quickly on what are we going to do in our session today? We are going to target, or we are going to talk about the holistic learning process of how we are not only touching our lives, like our students' life, with due regards to the academics only, but also how emotional and the social connect is very well important to the curriculum that we are developing and introducing. We are also going to talk about a little on how the teaching learning process was then and how it is now. We will be definitely discussing on the core topic that we are all here for, which is how beautifully you guys integrate, and how I also believe in how important the art integration into academics is all about. The new and the fresh approach into teaching and learning process, and the objective behind the art integration of why are we doing it and what are we doing. Taking it further, before we begin, I would like you all to
The
watch this
dot.
video.
Art class was over, but Vashti sat glued to her chair. Her paper was empty. Vashti's teacher leaned over the blank paper. Ah, a polar bear in a snowstorm, she said. Very funny, said Vashti. I just can't draw. Her teacher smiled. Just make a mark and see where it takes you. Vashti grabbed a marker and gave the paper a good strong jab. There. Her teacher picked up the paper and studied it carefully. Hmm. She pushed the paper toward Vashti and quietly said, Now sign it. Vashti thought for a moment. Well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name. The next week, when Vashti walked into art class, she was surprised to see what was hanging above her teacher's desk. It was the little dot she had drawn, her dot, all framed in swirly gold. Hmm, I can make a better dot than that. She opened her never before used set of watercolors and set to work. Vashti painted and painted a red dot, a purple dot, a yellow dot, a blue dot. The blue mixed with the yellow, she discovered she could make a green dot. Vashti kept experimenting, lots of little dots in many colors. If I can make little dots, I can make big dots too. Vashti splashed her dots with a big brush on bigger paper to make bigger dots. Vashti even made a dot by not painting a dot. At the school art show a few weeks later, Vashti's many dots made quite a splash. Vashti noticed a little boy gazing up at her. You're a really great artist. I wish I could draw, he said. I bet you can, said Vashti. Me? No, not me. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper. Show me. The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle, and then she said, Please, sign it.
So, what was your take on this? Because this video or this particular book, The Dot by Peter H. Reynolds, is very special to me, very dear to me. Um, for who I am right now as an art educator at this moment. Because there would have been definitely a Vashti in your life too. You would also have been that teacher to some Vashti in your class. It's a whole game, I believe, like teaching art and developing that inner artist into a particular student is all about a game of belief. The moment you believe, the day you start believing into the students of whatever they do is some sort of art, and not judge it by how perfect you are able to draw a particular person's face or a particular object that's lying in front of you. The day we start seeing this particular aspect, I feel we have got that connection built with that student. So we touch many lives every day as an educator, as a mentor to so many, as parents as well to our children. So I'm sure, like, you must have encountered some Vashti in your life, and there would be some Vashti in your class as well who would have seen you as this teacher and will definitely remember you forever. So art, again, as I said, like it is not only how children expresses themselves, like how Vashti expressed through that dot and how she developed her inner artist, but it is also about the teacher who believed in her and took her passion further, wherein then Vashti kept that chain of belief going on in the people that she met. So, just before we get into the serious business of we are learning and what we are doing, just a quick mental note if you all could make. I want you all to just take a quick mental note on what you already know of what are the topics that we are going to discuss in this session, like the topic, the core topic being art integration. So, what you already know, jot down a few points wherein what do you want to know, and what did you learn at the end? We'll just do a quick reflection. But throughout this session, teachers and my fellow teammates, do not forget to express yourself. As we said, like art is all about a game of like, expressing yourself. Please do not forget to express your thoughts on whatever we are doing. It's going to help us grow. Going further, now what is this particular image on the screen is speaking about? As you could clearly see, the cold blue color, definitely speaking to the art terminologies, the cold blue color, the cool color scheme, the blue, the left side brain speaks more about the analysis that we do in our life, the logic that we put into things, the ideas, the factual things, and um, very logical aspect of our life is mostly done by the left side of the brain. However, there is the right side of the brain which leads to the imaginary aspect of our lives, the creative bit that we do, the intuitiveness that we develop, or we try and see in things that around us. The feelings towards when we look at a particular person or a thing or think about a particular instances. So the right side brain is responsible for that. So very clearly you could see there is like a left and right divided. That XYZ brain, the left brain is responsible for this logical things, and the right side is responsible for all the creative aspects. However, I genuinely believe in this, that when we try and bring meaningful art integration, not only art integration, integration into subjects and academics and art, connecting it together, this is what happens to a person's brain. It all turns into a beautiful, colorful world where there is no space like, a bifurcation of, oh, this is about logic and this is about creativity. Let's keep them apart and let's not talk about it. No, that's not what we believe in. We are trying to definitely this is all there in all of us. It's just that we are like we are trying to bring it out to you guys that we need to do this to our children when we talk about the 21st century skills. And I we don't want the children to feel like oh, math and art could never go hand in hand. We want them to believe that we want you all to have a math class along with fun as well. So it's like a colorful and fun math class. I mean, why not? So let's take you all on this quick journey of what we think and what we believe in when we say how art integration is important. So, a conscious but seamless integration leads into a meaningful learning experience. That's what we strongly believe in. So, when it is done rightly, you could see all these happy, cute little faces forever in your classrooms. How can we make a difference? Sarah Mercer, a senior educator, she strongly believes that students need to believe that they are responsible and they are making a difference to what they are learning and doing in the classrooms. The day they start taking responsibility of their learnings, uh, what they are doing in class is something that they are responsible for, and they are continuously engaged into whatever they are doing. They'll start taking the ownership of their own learning, and they won't wait for the teacher is going to tell me this XYZ thing, and I'm going to do only that, and that's the full stop. No. And integration is just a step towards achieving the goal of how we could constructively engage the student, not only academically, but social and emotional development as well. The teaching learning then versus now. Now, why do we bring this into the art integration? Because I genuinely feel when we talk about integration, not about only art and a particular subject, it's about integrating a beautiful integration of academics and art. In the previous, I'm sure we all have been like, in schools wherein there was a format where teachers stepped into our classrooms, delivered a lesson, we all heard him or her, and that was the end of the class. Knowledge gained, but did we amplify it in our life? Did we try and use it like, oh, I can think extra and write extra, do extra, or maybe tell and express extra? I think we somewhere missed out on that a little. However, if you see on the right hand side, which is when integration happens, when there are students who are taking the ownership of what they are learning, what they want to learn, what is their target, what is the extra element, the magical touch that they could add to their learning, this happens. The right side classroom where everyone is equally constructively engaged, and the teacher is then not only delivering, but it's like a sharing and gaining of knowledge and thought between everyone equally. Now, I'm not going to define it exactly of what art integration is all about. I think we all have understood, I'm sure we all have been also practicing it in our classrooms, that art bringing in with another subject together brings it into a beautiful art integration. Taking it further, just to quote, why is it so important and why are we like stressing on this art integration, this particular terminology? It's very clearly stated in the NCERT document on art integration that a pedagogy where art becomes the basis of teaching learning process. This is just a statement. It leads to certain things. It leads to students being curious and constructively engaged into our classrooms. It leads to students being mindful and consciously present into classrooms of what they are going to learn, what they have already learned, and how they are going to bring it together and have a beautiful knowledge built upon that. Integrating art activities along with the curriculum that we are teaching in the class. So we are not saying that, oh, it's a task for you, that you have to now think of a different unit plan or a different lesson plan and try and forcefully do an integration with it. No. What we are trying to say is, I'm sure we all in a certain sessions, like for example, if I'm leading math class, I'm doing my math business portion. And then if I'm doing an art session, I'm teaching my art skills and techniques. But I'm sure if we sit together, I'm sure we all must be sitting together in our schools, staff room, and certain places, wherein we could just discuss, okay, you know what, I'm doing this and that, and we could try and bring these things together. Because the moment you'll see a math and an art teacher, or a science and an art teacher, English and art teacher, languages and art teacher, trust me, the students are going to be curious about what are we going to do in our class today. This is going to be something different, because I could see a math and an art teacher standing together. We are doing what we are going to do. If in case for math example, if you're teaching symmetry, of course you'll be teaching symmetry only. It's just that in art also we do symmetry, we do pattern study. We're just clubbing it together, making the class more fun for them and engaging for them. The agenda through integration is nothing but to bring arts into the subjects. It's just that they are going to be academically gaining definitely whatever skills and techniques and the set of pattern that you want to teach them. However, we are just bringing in the creative touch to it. That is the agenda. That is what we strongly believe in. That is what we somewhere want you all also to believe in, just to make your classes more fun, colorful, and a happy place for them to be. These are the 4 questions that I really strongly believe the day we start um, questioning us, or maybe framing these questions into our planning. So let's just go to these questions. The day I think, what will my students learn today? The day I think this of what my students is going to learn today, it is immediately we are thinking pro students. We are thinking of what they want to learn, and I'm trying to plan my class in such a way wherein they are leading it. It's not they are leading it, I mean, like, they're not replacing you definitely, but they are going to be mindfully be present, consciously. They will try and be engaged into your classrooms, and definitely the outcome is going to be very productive and different. How can you be an agent of transformation? How can you transform this whole thought process? So, moving from the teacher to the student centric classroom, as I said in my previous statement as well, that when we say we need to bring in this transformation into classrooms, that means instead of me standing here and me telling them, draw the shape, fill red color, end of the lesson. Of course, they will do it because assessments, they need marks, they need to see those good fancy grades. They will do that. But how about sometimes we tell them, so the agenda is to learn XYZ thing, but I leave it to you on how you would like to color it. Even I'm not going to tell you, are you going to use a crayon or a paint or anything? Just give this little ownerships to them, that I have taught my skill to you of drawing XYZ thing. That is, that was my on my agenda, my unit plan lesson. Definitely we have to complete all those tasks as well. But how about we give this little ownerships, that I have made you draw this XYZ landscape. Now I leave it to you whether you want to do the realistic color into it or you want to do a surrealistic, a fancy world into, or a fancy color scheme into the thing that you have drawn. Leave this tiny little thing to them. You'll see those happy faces, and the outcomes are not going to be uniform or a standard quality. You will be blown away by the outcomes that you are going to get. Now, how will they learn? I mean, of course, they will learn what you're going to teach them. But don't you think the moment you tell them, okay, so here's a math teacher, here it's me as an art teacher, we both are here to teach you symmetry. There's a tessellation pattern study, repetition of forms. So the form and the shape is done by math teacher. You take over then further, and then you tell them how to bring in the color scheme. And can you see, like, the math teacher has also done his or her part. You have also done your part. But the person who has benefited the most is the children, because they definitely had a fun math class, plus integrating art and math together, integrating art and English together, art and science together. I'm sure the outcomes will be bold. They will be bold over. They'll definitely look forward to like what my teacher is next going to bring in with subject, or maybe they could come up with ideas for you. Like, ma'am, how about we do this and that because we are doing in art? This is what happens in my classroom. So one fine day I was teaching them something about Chinese art, and they came up with this concept of like, ma'am, you remember that our teacher in English, like, so our English teacher also taught us about haiku poems. Okay. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, what do we do? I was like, how about we do the Chinese illustrations based on the poem that we have framed ourselves? It was a win-win situation. I didn't have to do the thinking about how do I integrate my subject to that. The students themselves had an idea. And post that, my whole sessions were all about, like, they discussing, oh, if we are doing this in art, how about we try and integrate this with that? Sometimes, yes, it was very well appreciated, and sometimes you have to just mindfully tell them, yes, we have taken it into consideration, but we'll come back to it, because not every time you could do and apply only integrated lessons. But most of the time, I'm telling you, your students are going to help you, give you ideas about what they're learning, because they are the masters. They have all 9 subjects, they have all 9 textbooks with them, and you are the one with your unit plan. So maybe if in case you don't get to speak to the teacher to go and meet the teacher, trust me, your students are going to help you in letting you know which are the parts where you could integrate your lesson. And what do I need to do? I mean, what do we need to do as teacher is, the whole agenda is to definitely take the boredom away and the lethargy that creeps in, because sometimes the students feel now that, yeah, this topic is so very, like, something that is keeping me bored, like, bar yahi karna hai. I'm not feeling like doing it. Same thing, coloring and this, that. If you see the answers, I have not answered these 3 questions, but the way, the moment this particular question sparks into, like, your children, and they develop the curiosity, the last question of boredom and lethargy is setting into the room, that the students are like, Are yaar, art, not my type, not my standard only, not my business only. What am I going to do by learning art? But that person is solidly amazing in physics, chemistry, bio, math, and all this type of academics. The subjects coming into art, trust me, they will be more interested in coming and giving you creative ideas on how to do it right, or how they would like to integrate. There was a student of mine who was just not into what I was teaching. Okay, because definitely we have a set curriculum and we have to follow that. But one fine day, when I was talking to them about the flora and fauna as a unit, and he came up with a solid technical drawing of a bug, I was completely bowled over for 2 good years. I was struggling with this boy on how do I make him produce stuff, something on the paper so that I could assess him. And this child told me that, can I make these drawings? And will you be okay? Because this is something that interests me, because this is I was learning in some biology study and this. And I was like, perfectly fine. Until unless you are on the same page of the unit that I'm teaching. And this is how maybe we could somewhere divert our route, that our units are not getting disturbed, but the child is able to integrate all this beautiful knowledge that he or she has gained into other subjects, into your subject. There is integration happening and very meaningfully happening. Absolutely. Very true of this particular statement, that when the journey, when the whole units, when the lessons and everything is planned, keeping the student as the center point. Trust me, you won't have to stand in one point of class and then you have to be like, oh, I have to maintain the class. Oh, guys, shush, maintain the discipline. There'll be people passing by and they'll be like, oh, your class is just not in discipline. That will never happen if, in case the student choose to be mindfully engaged. You have done your teaching part. Absolutely, that is the funda, like, we all have to set into our classrooms and we have to do some teaching. You have done it. Like I said, some students are perceiving it into like, oh, I'm going to do a digital art, oh, I'm going to sit and do some charcoal thing, oh, let's do it group mein. Let them. Trust me, your agenda, suppose for example, is about teaching them a landscape, they will learn the landscape. You tell them what you want to do. You want to teach them horizon line, background, foreground, middle ground, those things. Set the ground rules clear. Once your assignment is complete, these are the 4 things I want to see it in your assignment. Once you tell them that, give them the clear instructions, take a step back and let them explore. You'll get the most fanciest outcome, as I strongly believe in. Since I've started applying that, that's what has happened to my classrooms. Because if you see, when the curiosity is developed, they are going to find the answers themselves. They are going to find the outcomes. They are going to make the. So what you have done through whole of this integration process is basically, it is my subject, I'm going to do my part. I've initiated a few lessons in my class wherein I have got and sat with a teacher and spoken to them about, like, what I'll be doing. Is there something that you're going to do on a similar page? Let's try and integrate. Once or twice or thrice, you will have to do a little bit of planning into your classrooms. The third or the fourth time or the fifth time, the students are going to give you ideas that in my science class, this is happening. And I think in the art, we are going to do a similar thing. Can we? Can we? The integration is going to come in from there. And because they knew where they were, they know where they are going to go, and also to some extent they also have found a way on how they're going to get there. So it's going to be solidly student led, student centric, and you are the one who's going to enjoy this whole process, bring it in the classrooms. Now, just uh, in case, like, for some people, if they are thinking about, like, what this whole process is about and how do we do it, a few basic examples that I really want you all to like witness it is this picture of fish. Now, from an art perspective, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to ensure in my class that the student should learn how to draw a fish, how to implement the technique of finger painting onto the fish, making sure there's a background, there's a foreground. This is what my unit states, that I'm going to tick off these things when I'm going to assess my student, when whether the student has drawn the fish or not appropriately. But in the other class of science, I'm sure, not sure, but yeah, I'm sure there must be somewhere in some way they must be touching the base upon habitats of animals. They must be learning Hindi and Marathi, like for example, the famous poem we all have heard, Machli Jal Ki Rani Hai, and all that. So that poem they're learning. So if Hindi teacher is teaching them the poem, while they're learning the poem, how about you get into it, integrate your fish drawing activity with the finger painting thing, and while they're reciting the poem continuously, they are doing this activity. What do you think? Just mundanely sitting and like reciting the poem, Machli Jal Ki Rani and all that. What do you think will happen to the class? Won't there be happy faces? Won't there be excited faces? when they're doing it along with some hands-on activity. With this activity, if you see on the left hand side, there's anatomy study happening from my art perspective. I'm also teaching them the perspective in the landscape. There's the background, there's the foreground. There are anatomical structures according to the perspective, walking into the foreground, how big the size and all that. These are all my checklist art mein. Okay, so I'm going to tell them, oh, you have to create a scenario and something like that. Simultaneously, if you could connect with some subject teachers, okay, where they're also talking about in math suppose perspective or in English, we generally do essay writings also. So if they're talking about or expecting the students to write about an essay on my school, a basic simple essay on my school. Okay, so they're doing that. Imagine this tiny little drawing coming into your essay book. No harm done. You have got a beautiful artwork along with your essay. Makes definitely the project or the book like happy and colorful, and definitely the students' faces as well. Talking about math and art, we do a lot of math and art integration, because when it comes to symmetry or the contrast color scheme that I want to introduce in my class, and I want to teach my students about how symmetry works and all, math, perfect place to go. The math teacher, they'll do all the technical job. They'll do introduction of the shapes, the construction of the shapes. They'll teach them about the different types of symmetry, radial, symmetrical, asymmetrical, and the shapes that come along with it and everything. Maths part done, ticked off into their curriculum or the unit plan that my symmetry job is done. I step into it, teaching them about the symmetry, how it applies in art as well, how we see symmetry in nature along, and then the contrast color scheme that I want to introduce that. One more fun activity that I really enjoy doing with them is this crayon resist art, wherein so definitely I'm not getting into the process of how the crayon resist art is done. I'll tell you how to get to it. And then definitely we all do essay writings on festivals in whichever language we all are, can. English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Tamil, Telugu. We all do essay writings on festivals that we celebrate. This is just an example of Diwali, but through this technique that they will learn, I'm sure they'll be able to amplify this particular technique of crayon resist art into multiple things that they are doing, writing, illustrating. Okay. Now, if you must be wondering, where do I find these resources that I'm incorporating into my lessons? There are these 8 books, okay, grade specific, age specific, skill specific, and like I can advocate for this books because this has made my life easier. Sometimes when we plan a particular lesson, we are like, this is very original idea, perfect and everything. Do we even have enough time to maintain or generate resources for it? Go through these books. Trust me, they have everything. Like if in case you're doing grade 1, I suppose that simple basic fish drawing. In grade 5 or 6, if you're introducing anatomy drawing, these books have the set of 8 books right from grade 1 to grade 8. They not only have engaged in drawing activities, but they also strongly believe in developing the actual sense of art into them, the imagination and the real world connection that they bring into it, and the application of the techniques that they are going to learn into their real lives. And the best part about this is what that have you ever wondered, okay, if my XYZ unit is complete, my assessment is complete, how are we going to evaluate them? We have to generate a specific rubric or assessment pattern for them. But this book has a benefit for that as well. A bonus about this book is that it comes with an evaluation sheet. At the end of this book, you will find an evaluation sheet enclosed with where the students could easily assess a student on whatever their skills and techniques that they have learned.
I loved the way you have taken this session so calmly and in proper boxes you have explained us not only the techniques and the integration but also somewhere the social emotional element, how as teachers we all can collaborate. So when we talk about all these 21st century skills, collaboration is the word. Creativity is the word. Critical thinking is the word. So, Naznin, I have the, teachers asking me always, you very beautifully explained about integration. But is all this possible? Because you've reviewed these books, keeping the child at the nucleus, you know.
Absolutely.
So I would want you to expand a little bit more, that, when we as, I have seen a lot of workshops for core teachers, core subjects. But when it comes to art teachers, it's always wondered what will an art teacher have a workshop for. This is one of its kind workshop that we have planned, because we wanted a person from that field speak to the people who are actually in the classroom, understand their pain area, you can say, and how to communicate this to the parents as well. Because when it comes to coloring, or it's not just the technique, it's not just the book, it's beyond. And I would want you to expand a little bit on what is your observation with the technical, skills, the art skills, the progression, the way the themes are, in a scallop way they are in the book.
Yeah. So, since we are addressing the teacher community, I would also like to bring it to a point that teachers, majorly art teachers, we all feel like how to bring in originality into our curriculum, how to bring in originality. Like, I don't want to draw the typical scenery that I have also drawn in my childhood. So, what this book is giving us is like it's just adding a fresh touch to our life. The resources are already, if you could have seen a few pages, they're not as typical as what we did in my, like what I did in my school at least. Definitely, they have a fresher approach, they have a process to it, they have an evaluation set to it. So my job as a teacher is simple now. I mean, I have a resource which is ready, I have an evaluation that I have to just go and do that, and the students are mindfully connecting it to the different subjects that they are learning. The parents would also then be not dividing the line between, oh, my student is only math oriented or art oriented. So it's like a culmination where the parents would also feel, oh, so my child is also creatively developing and also not being only academic minded.
So, do you agree to it that when we talk about project-based learning, when we're talking about presentations, art is at the base of all of this?
So when we go for even like an academic presentation, okay, there are 4 papers, white papers, randomly scribbled and to the child's capability and put up. And there is a kiosk wherein they have fancy chart papers, beautiful illustrative titles. Won't your attention go to that? So imagine if we have this tiny little integrations, this tiny little ownerships given to the student right from the bottom. Don't you think at the end of the year, when we are culminating, when we are having such project days and culminations happening, don't you think each and every one is going to have some colorful and happy element added to that project?
I'm just loving this conversation with you, and I just don't want this to end, and I want it to go on and on. I am so thankful to you, Nazneen, to come over and share your experiences with the teachers. And I know this is going to help them. I know it's going to help them think about what they are going to, do in their classrooms next. It is going to add value to all the assets they have already created and the experiences that they have, gained in so many years. Thank you so much for coming in, sharing your experiences. Thank you
Thank
from
you so much.
all of us over here, and looking forward for many, many more insightful sessions very, very soon. Signing off today with Nazneen Qureshi. This is Darshana Dapke from Chetna Education.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for joining
much.
us out. Thank you guys. Have a lovely evening.